Hello, thank you for your comments on my previous video. The first part of my response to the challenge, defend natural selection, with the implication that the challenger blames natural selection for his sufferings, for the suffering in the world. Most of you have seen that the joke that I made was made on the basis of the fallacy in this expression, defend natural selection, and that fallacy is reification, objectification. That means taking an abstract concept for an entity independent of the human mind. It is not an entity. Natural selection is a short word or expression made by two words, with which we, for the sake of quick and easy communication, want to express, well, everything that has been happening with life on Earth for 3 billion years. All this is named natural selection. It is not one thing, and of course you cannot blame it or defend it. I remember as a child, I don't remember exactly what I had said, but I remember very well the answer, and it was not once, maybe several times, but this has impressed itself in my mind. I don't remember what I had said, but I was advised not to judge personally things that happen in nature. You can't judge them. That is, those are natural laws and so on, and that has served me very well to learn at an early age, and that's why we have schools, that you can't look for agency, sentient, conscious agency in things in nature, because that is called animism. In this book that I have been recommending very often, Chance and Necessity by Jacques Monod, he describes how strange objects appeared on Earth, and those are living objects, and what is strange about them is the way they have been made, and that is through evolution, through natural selection, which is the change of the circumstances, natural circumstances, act on living objects, because there is a variety in them, and the random mutations that happen effect a change, an alteration in the next generations, and then those changes are either those organisms are either eliminated or by the natural circumstances. In those circumstances, alterations that are good for the organism, for its survival and reproduction, in those circumstances, because they keep them alive and they can reproduce, those mutations, those alterations are inherited by following generations. So I got distracted. Yes, it is a normal tendency, especially in children up to 4 or 5 years of age, I don't know exactly, to find agency in the natural world. Some children say, when asked why there is a wind, I think some of them say, so that the wind can, so that the trees can sway, or something like that. They, in things that happen in nature, as a result of natural laws, they find agency, purpose in them. And of course, when those children mature, through their experience in the world, through their education, they learn that that is not correct and they shouldn't look for agency. But some people, I don't know, their minds are stunted at the stage of childhood, and they still find agency in the natural world. That is animism. And this is one more way in which religion is a poison, as Christopher Hitchens used to say, that religion is poison, and that is that when children are brought up with such a view of the world that it has been made by a person, by a personal agent, and all the other things in religion, even if those children learn later that, well, there is no God, by so many already atheistic videos and speeches and so on, that there is no God, then they may stay still with that part of the view of the world that it was made, it was with a purpose made like it is. And then they may start blaming, because there is no God, natural processes or nature itself for the bad things that happen in their life or the bad things that they see around them. I got distracted again.
Defend natural selection.
In the comments to my previous video, 4 new lines of conversation have started. Gyatra asks if the challenger is a creationist, which in a strange way, actually you can think that he is, because he, by reification of natural selection, saying that natural selection is to blame for suffering, that instead of God, he says that natural selection creates or makes the world. Natural selection is not a thing, it is not a conscious agent. This is a subject for another video, some of you may make it. Callum Migon started a conversation about things that people, when they consider them natural, they are in favor of them in place of other things that are artifacts. Like he says in the comment that somebody said to him or her, don't give me those e-cigarettes, the vapor cigarettes. I'd rather have a burning plant in my mouth than chemicals. This is a different conversation. And then Unfurnished Flower started a line of conversation about the genetically modified crops, and I have to learn more about that. This is a subject of other videos, and Ifalo was the last one, and he or she was looking for names of the fallacies in that expression, because it's not only one fallacy in defend natural selection. I happened to go back to Karl Popper, this book, Conjectures and Refutations, and Karl Popper cites Bertrand Russell, who in his theory of types classifies expressions as either true statements, false statements, and meaningless expressions. A true statement is 2 plus 2 is 4. False statement is 2 plus 2 is 173. But if you hear the following expression, all cats are 173. or
defend natural selection.
I accuse natural selection for my sufferings. These are meaningless expressions because they don't make sense. And then he is a wonderful philosopher. It's just very refreshing to read this book and his other books, Open Society, for example, because he philosophizes in a very good way. For example, false statements, you can refute them, and then your refutations will be a true statement, but you can't really refute meaningless expression because it's not a statement, it's a pseudo-statement. That means that defend natural selection, or its implication, I blame natural selection, is a pseudo-statement. It doesn't make sense. Remember this because we should remember this because at the end of the video you will see what use can be made of meaningless expressions. They can be useful for saving human lives, no less.
Defend natural selection.
And here, to lead to my main point of this video, which will come at the end, I want to mention and describe to you some of the things I heard on Sunday on a program on BBC, The Big Question. One of the questions was, should assisted dying be made legal in the UK? And there were panelists there. One of them told the story of his mother, who at 67, she had Huntington's disease, which debilitates a person entirely at the end, and it was hereditary. She had watched her father and brother, I think, who she remembers the last stages of their illness, and she didn't want to go through that. So she decided to go to Switzerland, where it is legal apparently to have assisted dying. And her sons accompanied her to there, and this happened. I think it is my opinion that this is a good thing to do, to legalize, especially in cases like this, assisted dying, when there is a terminal disease. And but of course the details should be worked out. In that same panel there was another youngish woman who said that she had, I didn't hear exactly what kind of illness she had, but it made her, it immobilized her. She was completely paralyzed. She couldn't talk, move any muscle, and so on. She was a vegetable, but she could hear and understand what people around her were saying, and she was terrified when they talked about her dying, or should she be let to die, and so on. And eventually she was cured and she recovered, and there was nothing wrong with her as far as I could see. So I move on to this topic now, what we call a vegetable, a person who is so paralyzed, immobilized, that he or she is considered a vegetable. As you saw from the case of this woman, some of them can recover and lead normal lives, lead fulfilled lives, have a family, and so on. In Scientific American Mind, this magazine, I like it very much and I always buy it. On the first page, under headliners, there is a little article where it is described that for people that we call vegetables, a team of scientists have found a way to discover whether their mind is still working, whether they can process language. So, whether they can understand what is talked about, and if people like that can be cured and recover and have a life, they shouldn't be killed. It is unfair, and they would be terrified to learn that and not being able to react in any way. So, what the scientists found was that in an encephalogram, which measures the electric waves of the brain, if they say to patients like that, meaningless expressions, then there is a special brain wave called N400, immediately is heard on the machine that measures the activity in the brain. And for example, if they say to such patients the phrase, "the pizza is too hot to sing," phrases like that, which are meaningless expressions, make patients to their brain emits such a brain wave. And that is how scientists, doctors, know that this person is processing language. I will leave a link to some links to N400. So in this way, doctors know that this person is still alive in his mind, he can process language, he is still conscious, and even if in that little article a person who has been cured and recovered is mentioned. So it's ironic to say that such meaningless phrases can save a person's life. Can save a person's life. So this movement, aphilism, which is the radical branch of anti-natalism, and this movement makes propaganda for stopping life, or human life on Earth. That is their wish, that is their goal. But because they produce many meaningless phrases, defend natural selection is one of them. If their phrases are used in such studies in hospitals, ironically, they could contribute to saving lives. That's funny, isn't it? Bye for now.